Michael Carter was a young man from Chicago, a place where dreams are big, but competition is even bigger. He was raised in a normal family, not poor, but not wealthy either. His parents worked hard, but they often reminded him that in life, nothing comes easy. Still, Michael always carried inside him a desire to do something different. He wanted to rise above the average life. He wanted success, not just a normal job and a paycheck. But like many young people, he was impatient. He thought success should come quickly if he worked hard for a few months. He believed talent or opportunity would somehow speed things up. Yet life had different plans for him. And what he would later discover is that consistency is the quiet force that separates dreamers from achievers. When he finished college, Michael took a job at a small marketing firm. The job wasn't glamorous. It was mostly preparing reports, collecting data, and assisting senior employees. At first, he was excited. He worked late, he gave creative ideas, and he thought within a few months people would notice his potential. But when months passed and no promotion came, when his name wasn't mentioned in meetings, when nobody applauded his hard work, he started losing motivation. He began asking himself, why am I doing all this if nobody cares? Maybe I'm not as good as I thought. That moment of doubt was powerful because this is the point where many people quit. Some change jobs, some give up on their dreams, some settle for mediocrity. But for Michael, something happened that shifted his direction. His mentor at work, David, an older man with calm eyes and years of wisdom, invited him for coffee one evening. In that conversation, David told him something he would never forget. Success does not come from sudden bursts of talent or luck. It comes from the small, repeated actions done consistently, even when no one is watching, even when there is no applause, even when results are invisible. Michael thought about that deeply. He realized his whole life he had been quitting too soon. When he tried to learn guitar, he quit in 2 months. When he tried to get fit, he quit in 3 weeks. When he tried to start a side hustle in college, he quit after a month. The pattern was always the same: excitement at the beginning, disappointment when results didn't appear quickly, then quitting. That night, he made a decision. He would test the power of consistency in every area of his life. The first test was at his job. He decided he would stop chasing instant recognition. Instead, he would focus on improving a little every single day. He would write better reports, understand clients more deeply, and refine his communication. Even if nobody noticed, he would continue. At first, the office felt the same. People still ignored his contributions. Weeks passed, months passed, and sometimes he wondered if he was wasting his time. But deep inside, he held on to the belief that consistency would eventually pay off. After several months, his manager finally called him in and said, "Michael, I've seen your progress. You're reliable. Clients trust you because you always deliver." Those words proved to him that showing up every day matters more than short bursts of effort. The second test was his health. He had always wanted to be fit, but his old pattern was joining a gym, going hard for 2 weeks, then stopping when the soreness or lack of instant results frustrated him. This time, he promised himself something simple: 30 minutes of exercise every day, no excuses. It could be running, push-ups, or lifting weights, but he had to show up. At first, the mirror showed nothing. After 1 month, still no big change. But after 6 months, his body looked stronger, his energy improved, and his confidence grew. Consistency had transformed his health in a way that quick, extreme attempts never could. The biggest challenge, however, was his dream of building something of his own. He had always wanted to start a side business, but in the past he had quit after the initial excitement faded. This time, he chose a simple idea, an online marketing blog. He committed to writing one article every week, no matter how tired he was, no matter how few people read it. In the beginning, almost no one visited his blog. His friends laughed and said it was a waste of time, but he stayed consistent. After a year, a small audience formed. After 2 years, companies reached out to advertise on his blog. The tiny seeds of daily effort had grown into something real. Consistency was shaping not just his results, but his character. It was teaching him patience, discipline, and trust in the process. He realized success isn't about one big breakthrough. It's about hundreds of small steps that add up over time. Every day he worked. Even when nothing seemed to happen, he was building a foundation that others couldn't see. But life wasn't smooth. At one point, the company he worked for faced financial trouble. Many employees were laid off. Fear crept into Michael's heart. What if he lost his job? What if all his efforts were wasted? But he remembered his principle. He kept working, kept showing up, and his consistent performance made him one of the few employees kept during the crisis. That was when he truly understood that consistency builds trust. Employers, clients, even friends rely on people who show up again and again, not on people who only shine for a moment. Over the years, his blog grew into a small agency. He hired a few people, built partnerships, and finally stepped out of his corporate job to run his own business. It wasn't fast, it wasn't flashy, but it was steady. And when young employees asked him for advice, he always gave the same answer. Consistency is the key. Talent may open the door, luck may give an opportunity, intelligence may create plans, but only consistency walks you through the long journey of success. What makes consistency powerful is that it compounds. Just like money invested grows over time, effort invested daily multiplies. One workout does nothing, but hundreds change your body. One blog post brings no readers, but hundreds build an audience. One day of disciplined work may feel small, but years of it build expertise. The tragedy is most people quit before the compound effect begins. They plant the seed, but never water it long enough to see the tree grow. Michael was once that person, but learning to stay consistent changed his destiny. His story is not just about business or health. It's about mindset. It's about understanding that real growth is invisible at first. The results hide for weeks, months, sometimes years, and only appear to those who are patient enough to keep going. Consistency teaches resilience. It trains the mind to stay calm when results are delayed. It builds inner strength because every day you show up, you prove to yourself that you are reliable, disciplined, and stronger than your excuses. Michael Carter's journey shows that success is not a sudden moment, but a slow transformation. It is like climbing a mountain, where every step feels small, but when you look back after years, you realize how far you've come. For young people chasing dreams, this lesson is crucial. Don't give up when results are invisible. Don't expect quick success. Instead, commit to the process, stay consistent, and trust that time will reward you. Because in the end, the world does not remember those who started fast, but those who stayed the course. The real winners are not the most talented or the luckiest. They are the most consistent. And that is why Michael Carter, an ordinary man with no special advantage, became extraordinary. Not because of one big moment, but because he showed up every single day, for years, until success had no choice but to follow him. Michael's decision to live with consistency did not just affect his career and health. It touched every corner of his life, including his relationships. He had a girlfriend at the time, Emily, who was supportive but sometimes frustrated with his lack of balance. Before his new mindset, Michael would make big promises to her. He'd say he would spend more time together. He'd say he would plan trips. He'd say he would commit more seriously to their future. But just like with his hobbies and dreams, he would start strong and then fade. Emily once told him, "Michael, you're great at beginnings, but not so great at follow-through." Those words stung because they were true. When he embraced consistency, he realized relationships also needed it. Not grand gestures once in a while, not promises of big changes, but small, steady actions every single day. He started by making simple commitments, texting her good morning daily, calling her during his breaks, planning one date night every week and sticking to it. No excuses. At first, Emily didn't believe it would last. She expected him to return to his old pattern. But weeks passed, then months, and she saw that he was serious. Slowly, the trust between them deepened. She no longer wondered if his promises were empty. She knew that if Michael said he would do something, he would. Consistency became the foundation of love, as much as it was the foundation of success. But of course, not everything was smooth. There were times when Michael wanted to give up. One of those moments came 2 years into his blog. He had been writing weekly articles. He had a few readers, but it still felt small. He compared himself to others online who seemed to grow faster, get sponsors, or become influencers overnight. He wondered if maybe he was wasting his time. The temptation to quit was strong. One night, he even opened his laptop and thought about writing a farewell post, ending the whole project. But then he remembered a lesson he had once read about bamboo trees. The bamboo seed stays underground for years. You water it daily, but nothing shows. Then suddenly, after years of invisible growth, the tree shoots up rapidly, reaching incredible heights in a short time. The secret is that all those years, the roots were developing, preparing for the visible growth. Michael realized his blog was the same. Even if he couldn't see explosive results yet, the roots were forming. His skills were improving. His discipline was strengthening. His audience trust was slowly building. The only way he could fail was by stopping. That night, he decided to keep going, and within another year, his first major breakthrough happened when a big brand approached him for a paid partnership. That small victory proved his consistency was working. Another deep challenge was emotional. Michael struggled with self-doubt. There were days he looked at himself and thought, "I'm just average. Why would anyone care about my work? Why would anyone follow me?" Doubt is the enemy of consistency because it whispers, "Why bother?" On those days, he reminded himself that consistency is not about being the best every day. It's about showing up no matter what you feel. He told himself, "Even if I write poorly today, even if my workout is weak, even if I feel invisible at work, I will still do it. Because one bad day doesn't erase the 100 good ones." That mindset carried him through the darkest moments. Consistency also shaped his friendships. Many of his old friends were people who lived on short bursts of excitement, parties, quick money schemes, chasing instant pleasure. When Michael started focusing on his daily discipline, some friends mocked him. They said he was boring, too serious, wasting his youth. At first, it hurt. He felt alone, like he was walking a road that others didn't understand. But eventually, new friends appeared, people who also believed in growth, patience, and steady effort. They encouraged each other, shared knowledge, and celebrated progress, no matter how small. Michael realized consistency not only builds success, it also filters your circle. It removes the people who don't support your growth and brings in those who align with your vision. Years passed, and the pattern repeated. Challenges, doubts, temptations to quit, but each time, consistency carried him through. Slowly but surely, his blog became a full agency. He hired a small team, and they too admired his discipline. They noticed he never missed deadlines, never overpromised, never relied on luck. He taught them the same principle. Don't try to impress with sudden big moves. Impress by being reliable, steady, and consistent. At one point, however, he faced his biggest failure. A client canceled a major contract that his agency depended on. It was a heavy financial loss, and some employees quit. Michael felt crushed. He lay awake at night wondering if his dream was collapsing. But when he looked back at his journey, he realized something powerful. He had faced obstacles before, and consistency always carried him through. So instead of panicking, he returned to his daily habits. He wrote articles, reached out to new clients, improved his strategies, one small step at a time. Within 6 months, he replaced the lost contract with 3 new ones. His agency survived because he didn't break under pressure. Psychologically, consistency gave him something even more valuable than money or success. It gave him identity. He no longer saw himself as a quitter or someone who gave up easily. He saw himself as someone dependable, someone who follows through. This new identity changed how he walked, how he talked, how he approached every challenge. Confidence came not from quick wins, but from knowing he could trust himself to keep going. Looking back years later, Michael realized that most people around him had dreams as big as his, maybe bigger, but very few of them stayed consistent long enough to see results. Some gave up after months, some after weeks, some never even started seriously. The world was full of talented quitters, and the few who made it were simply the ones who kept going. He understood that this truth applied to everything: health, love, career, learning, even happiness. The winners were not those who did the most in one day, but those who did a little every day without stopping. He often told young people, success doesn't knock on your door one day by accident. It comes to those who keep showing up day after day when no one is watching. Consistency is boring. It's not exciting. It doesn't give you fireworks. But it quietly builds an empire behind the scenes. And one day, the world calls it success. Michael Carter's story is not extraordinary because he was born special. He wasn't. He was ordinary. What made him extraordinary was his decision to stay consistent when others quit. And that decision changed everything: his health, his career, his relationships, his mindset, his future. He proved that consistency is not just the key to success, it is the very foundation of it.